As a rookie in the Cup Series, who do you go to? Who's your guy? Who are you leaning on? Who driver?
That's a great question. I would actually say out of all the drivers, even out of all my teammates, I talk to Briscoe more than anybody else. Like, he and I have kind of been through this all together. So he and I talk fairly often. Obviously, we're on different teams. But within our own walls, I feel like, especially like you add Brad in the mix as well when I was coming up through Xfinity, you have three very different race car drivers between Ryan, Joey, and Brad. They're all very good. I think they're some of the best. And I feel like I've tried to pick and pull the different things that I think make them good and make, or maybe even weaknesses, and try and eliminate those for myself. But I think I've had better examples than anyone else has really had as far as how to be and what to do and what to focus on. And so knowing those things ahead of time going into Racing Cup, I feel like it's helped me be able to understand, okay, why is he doing this? Why is this happening? And why is he stronger here? Why is this, I think it's been a good opportunity.
What's it mean to be a teammate?
It's a great question because I haven't had a teammate in like 4 years. And I feel like that's an area that I am committed to not pursuing, but it's certainly a gray area. It's an opportunity to move the team forward and it's an expectation within our team. But for me, I think understanding the situations is important because I can say confidently that I'm probably more committed to the team's success than selfishly any other driver would be, for probably obvious reasons, just from, it's how I've grown up. It's what I've seen.
I've kind of found that's being a good teammate is relative to who your teammate is and what they're willing to accept and how open they are to work together. I thought, with Truex when we were at DEI, being a good teammate was being buddies, being their friend, hanging out, and we never spent time really at the track going, hey, man, did you try that right rear spring? What did it do? It's more like Tuesday bar. Yeah. And then I had teammates that we just didn't communicate, period, and crew chiefs for teammates that I didn't communicate with. And then I went to Hendrick, and when I got to work with Jimmy, I don't know if that was the first time, but that was a really good experience for me as far as understanding how he could help me and how I could help him on a Sunday. He was one of the first guys that was pretty innovative with his cockpit and what he would do with things and where he would move stuff and why, the new technology that he could use to help himself get better. And I could kind of pick and choose what I liked about that. And he was open to being like, hell yeah, here it is. Check it out. This is why I do it. And it made me want to be better, as far as appreciated, when you go sit in that debrief, that people are going to be looking forward to hearing what you have to say because what you have to say typically helps everybody in the room, right? So, yeah, that's going to be a pretty interesting experience for you, I think, especially you got two different types of guys in Joey and Ryan. And so, and plus, who else is in the debriefs as far as drivers? Does Harrison sit in?
Yeah, Harrison will be there as well.
Right. So. And so, yeah, you've got a lot going on there. And
I think my philosophy with teammates has always been especially like sports car racing, road racing, like your teammate is like your number one enemy. Like anybody that watches Formula One, Drive to Survive, like the first person you got to beat is your teammate. The first person you got to wreck is your teammate. Like the best way to finish in front of them at least is to take them out with you. Like that is the mentality in that stuff.
It's crazy.
And even when I race that stuff, my mentality has always been, and I think the way you project yourself externally it lines up with this, is that your self-esteem has to be high enough to understand that if you tell your teammate who has the same car as you everything you're doing, you have to have the confidence in yourself that you are a better race car driver, that even if he has all that knowledge that you've shared with him, you can still beat him.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been my mission statement as a teammate. Like I'm an open book. Like if you ask me a question, I'm going to answer it because I know it makes us all better. And especially, from that standpoint, like that makes somebody more willing to help you. And right now I need more help than I can help, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
As far as being a rookie and having, experience and understanding what's right and wrong. And so for me, that's always been my statement. I think the drafting thing and super speedways and all that, it obviously brings in a much bigger dynamic, and that's probably more of what I thought you were asking about. But from how to be a good teammate, I've always been as open as possible for that exact reason. Not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it shows everyone around you that, I have the confidence that if I, tell him that I'm braking at the 200 board and using second gear, and, I think that you need to have a gradual, throttle input, like all those things. If you ask me that and I tell you, like, that's because I have confidence I can still do it better than you.
Yeah. Now, on the racetrack, I was not dependable. Now, I would help you sometimes, but you just didn't know when it was coming. And I think it's, when you're on the racetrack, you got a pass to be selfish,
Yeah. If you want to hear his teammates, just listening to Jeff Gordon's radio channel during a Talladega or Daytona race was always a lot of entertainment.
He said the same things when I drove the 8 car. So
no, you're right. Yeah. He did.
I don't know if he knew I was his teammate when I was driving the 88.
He still expected you to help him, even at DEI.
I failed my first attempt at being a teammate with Ryan during the duels.
No. Did he let you know?
Oh, I instant regret.
What happened?
It was like 4 cars left at the end of the race. It was Brad, Ryan, me, and Briscoe, and we're racing to the end of the duels. And Blaney and Brad go tandem. We've taken the white, pushes away, and so I've got to keep the 14 lined up so I can get a big enough run. So I'm like, I'm build this big run and bring it to Ryan. Promise you that's what I was thinking. And so we build this big run on the back straightaway, and they kind of come unattached, and they're both kind of equal momentum. And I've got this huge run coming to Ryan. I'm like, S&T said I was like 7 or 8 miles an hour faster. And I'm like, come on, man, like cover it, make a move. I'm going to push you by. And like, I pull down with this run at the last second, and I pass him and almost pass Brad and end up finishing in front of him. And we easily probably could have beat the 6 car. And like right when I pulled out, like made that run, I'm like, man, I am the asshole here. Like I just passed him. Like I didn't want to, but I did. I just passed him, like blew his doors off. And like instant regret, came up to him. I'm like, dude, I'm like so sorry. Didn't think that was going to happen. Like the run was for you, even though you were probably smart not to cover it because it would have wrecked you. Like, so that was my first failure, as my first attempt to be a teammate, and my first failure. So
what was his response?
He was pretty cool about it. I mean, just
he's chill.
He's a pretty chill guy, but I owned up to it pretty quickly. The funny thing is, Xfinity, I never had a teammate speedway racing, and I went out of my way in the Ford group of drivers, which was usually 1 or 2 other guys. For a while it was me and Briscoe, and that was fun. Like speedway racing with Chase and I was fun because he and I are 2 completely different people. He's taking every run, like doing whatever it takes, and I'm probably a lot more calculated and maybe a little more conservative. And that combination actually was very successful for us. More successful for him because he was usually the one getting pushed to stage wins. But we never ended up winning a race together because of it. But that was it was a pretty cool dynamic because he and I are pretty close to where we talk about things, whether if it's restarts, runs, like share everything we know to make us better because we've got 4 JRM cars, 3 colleague cars, all the JGR cars. We're like, the odds are completely against us. So in those races where it was like the 2 of us like fending off the field, like he would know that when I was throwing a block, it was for him, not for anybody else.
Yeah.
And that was fun to experience that. But even if you like beat him, it didn't really matter because like you're still on different teams and you can still race to the end of stages. Whereas like now it's a lot more absolute as far as the teammate standpoint. I can't really generate my own belief on what that is or isn't. It's a lot more challenging, especially the more cars you have.
Sure is.
Do you get the feeling like everybody listening to this right now, they're just saying, well, this is the point where we have to talk about the last lap of the Daytona 500 then, if we're talking about teammates and everything?
If you enjoyed that conversation we had with Austin Cindric, well, you ought to listen to the entire podcast. The Dale Jr. Download is available on all major podcast platforms.